Hello everyone. In this lecture, we will see autoencoders. So basically the autoencoders are the basic building block of deep neural network. So before this, we have seen that what is meant by deep neural network, how they are formed, on what concept they have defined, then what is meant by perceptron, what is single layer perceptron, what is multi-layer perceptron, what are input layers, hidden layers and output layers. Then, what is meant by deep neural network? So, all these concepts we have seen in our previous lectures. So, while considering all these things, we have seen one thing that there are four basic building blocks of deep neural network. And before this, we have seen three of them. And the last one is autoencoders, which we will elaborate in this lecture. So autoencoders are a variant of feed-forward neural network that have an exact bias for calculating the error of reconstructing the original input. After training, autoencoders are then used as a normal feed-forward neural network for activations. This is an unsupervised form of feature extraction because the neural network uses only the original input learning weights rather than back propagation, which has labels. The basic thing behind autoencoders are these, we can say, uh, as a part, or this is the concept similar to the single layer perceptron, or the concept of perceptron, where when we consider the neural network, and at the time of calculating the value for that neural network, we have to consider a bias. So bias is the thing which we can say no algorithm can be perfect, no algorithm can give us 100% accuracy. For that, we have to consider some error, and that error we can calculate as a bias. So while defining this bias, we have to consider the autoencoders. So when we consider feed-forward neural networks, at the time of calculating the values, we have to use the activation functions, and while considering that, we have to consider the autoencoders also. We use autoencoders to learn compressed representation of datasets. Typically, we use them to reduce datasets dimensionality. The output of the autoencoder network is a reconstruction of the input data in the most efficient form. So when we consider the autoencoders and when we go for the output of autoencoders, so it will be the higher version or next version of the input. Similarities to multilayer perceptrons, autoencoders share a strong resemblance with multilayer perceptron neural networks in that they have an input layer, hidden layers of neurons, and then an output layer. So it is also similar with the multi-layer perceptron. As I said some time before that, we can say that these are the part of, or this we can say as a concept of perceptron only. It may be single layer, it may be multi-layer. So there are some similarities between the perceptron and the autoencoders. The key difference to note between multi-layer perceptron network diagram and autoencoder is the output layer. In an autoencoder, it has the same number of units as the input layer does. So this is the basic difference between the autoencoder and the perceptron, where in perceptron we cannot say that number of input layers and number of units in the input layer and number of units in the output layer that are same, but in autoencoders they are same. So autoencoders differ from multi-layer perceptron in a couple of ways. So they use unlabeled data in unsupervised learning. and they build a compressed representation of the input data. So when we are considering unsupervised learning of unlabeled data, so it means the autoencoders learns directly from the unlabeled data. This is connected to the second major difference between multilayer perceptron and autoencoders. Second thing is learning to reproduce the input data. The goal of multilayer perceptron network is to generate predictions over a class like fraud versus not fraud. An autoencoders is trained to reproduce its own input data. Means while training to the data set, while defining the data sets, what we have to do is our algorithm should be enough intelligent to uh, cover the things or to learn the things from the past history and the things given to the data set. So it is possible with the use of autoencoders also. So training autoencoders rely on backpropagation to update their weights. The main difference between RBM and more general class of autoencoders is how they calculate gradients. So in backpropagation also we have seen that to update the weights of the neurons, we have to go backward from the output layer to the input layer by considering some functions into it and by considering the weights of the neurons. So to train the autoencoders, the training of the autoencoders are based on the backpropagation for their weights. Then common variants of the autoencoders. Two important variants of autoencoder to note are compression autoencoders and denoising autoencoders. So compression autoencoders, this is the architecture which contains network input must pass through a bottleneck region of the network before being expanded back into the output representation. So this is the kind of architecture where the network input must pass through the such regions where the output should be expanded from the input layers. And second one is the denoising autoencoders. So the denoising autoencoders is the scenario in which the autoencoders is given a corrupted version of the input and network is forced to learn the uncorrupted output. Means to denoise means network is provided the network is provided such input which is corrupted, which is not much useful or which is not much accurate, and still that algorithm has to learn the things from the uncorrupted output. So this kind of autoencoders are known as denoising autoencoders. So there are some applications of autoencoders. First one is building a model to represent the input data set might not sound useful on the surface. However, we are less interested in the output itself and more interested in the difference between input and output representation. Second one, if we can train a neural network to learn data it commonly sees, then this network can also let us know when it's seeing data that is unusual or anomalies. Means the autoencoders are basically used where we have to focus onto the what is the difference between input and output representation. Means here we are not much focusing onto the output generated by that layer or output generated by that network. Here the thing is we have to make the comparison between the input and output representation. In such cases we can use the autoencoders. Otherwise you can go for the perceptrons also. If we train neural networks to learn data it commonly sees, then this network can also let us know when it's seeing data that is unusual or anomalies. Means while constructing the neural network, first the neural network has to check the things and it has to see the things, and on the basis of that it has to learn the things. and all these things can be done with the help of autoencoders. So autoencoders are commonly used in system in which we know what the normal data will look like, yet it's difficult to describe what is anomalies. And autoencoders are good at powering anomaly detection systems. So these are some applications of autoencoders. Now, there are basically four major architectures of deep neural networks. They are unsupervised pre-trained networks, convolutional neural networks, recurrent neural networks, and recursive neural networks. In which unsupervised pre-trained networks, these are we have already seen in single layer or multi-layer perceptrons. So we will directly go to the convolutional neural network. The goal of CNN is to learn higher order features in the data via convolutions. They are well suited to object recognition with images and consistently top image classification computations. Means CNNs are basically used in image processing. They can identify faces, individuals, street signs, and many other aspects of visual data. CNNs overlap with text analysis via optical character recognition, but they are also useful when analyzing words as a discrete textual units. Means the CNNs are also used in speech recognition. CNNs are also used in text mining, data mining. There also we can go for the CNNs as it recognizes the patterns. It is also used in pattern recognition. They are also good at analyzing sound. Then CNNs are good at building position and rotation invariant features from raw image data. CNNs are powering major advances in machine vision, which has obvious applications for self-driving cars, robotics, drones, and treatments for the visually impaired. So these are some applications we can say where the CNNs are basically used. So this is very advanced technique in deep neural network and generally used nowadays. It is used in everything so that it will be easier to recognize the things or to work with the things. Like see here, there are some applications given. Self-driving cars are there, robotics are there, drones are there, and there are some treatments given for such peoples who are visually impaired, who are having some problems with their body. There also we are having some applications in which we can go for the CNNs. CNNs also have been used in other tasks such as natural language translation, generation, and sentiments analysis. Convolutional is a powerful concept for helping to build a more robust feature space based on a signal. So, by seeing all these things, we can say that CNNs are the very advanced technique and very useful technique in nowadays, where it is almost covering all the areas. Like we can say natural language processing is there, text recognition is there, speech recognition is there, then image processing is there, pattern recognition is there. So all these concepts are covered by using this convolutional neural network. CNNs tend to be most useful when there is some structure to the input data. An example would be how images and audio data that have a specific set of repeating pattern and input values next to each other are related spatially. Conversely, the columnar data exported from the relational database management system tend to have no structural relationships spatially. Columns next to one another just happen to be materialized that way in the database exported materialized view. What it exactly means is, when we consider CNNs and we have lots of applications with it. So CNNs are also used in database management system where we have to go for the pattern recognition. When we have to save such patterns, we are having large amount of data to save, and with this we can go for the relational database management system also, and it is also possible with the convolutional neural network. Next type is recurrent neural networks. Recurrent neural networks are the family of feed-forward neural networks. We have seen this before in our previous lectures also, that what is meant by feed-forward lectures. So we are having input layer, we are having some hidden layers, and then we are having the output layer. Every layer consists of some nodes and neurons with it. And then for every neuron, we have assigned some weights. And by using that weights, we can calculate the total weight of that system, and that concept is again used in recurrent neural networks. They are different from other feed-forward networks in their ability to send information over time steps. So they allow both parallel and sequential computation, and in principle can compute anything a traditional computer can compute. Unlike traditional computers, however, recurrent neural networks are similar to the human brain, which is a large feedback network of connected neurons that somehow can learn to translate a lifelong sensory input stream into a sequence of useful motor outputs. So this is the basic difference between any simple feed-forward neural network and recurrent neural network, that uh, no feed-forward neural network can send the output back to the input layer or feedback to the input layer, but it is possible with the recurrent neural network. The brain is remarkable role model as it can solve many problems current machines cannot yet solve. Historically, these networks have been difficult to train, but more recently, advances in research optimization, network architecture, parallelism, and graphics processing units have made them more approachable for the practitioners. So these are some applications of recurrent neural network where we can say that uh, network architecture, parallelism, and graphics processing, these are some applications of it. Recurrent neural networks take each vector from a sequence of input vectors and model them one at a time. This allows the network to retain state while modeling each input vector across the window of input vector. Modeling the time dimension is a hallmark of recurrent neural network. The basic difference between the feed-forward neural network and the recurrent neural network is, first thing we have seen, like it is providing the output or it is giving the feedback to the input layer, and second thing is it works onto the time dimension where all the things are, it may be in parallel processing or it may be in sequential processing, but the time dimension is the key point in recurrent neural network. Recurrent neural networks are considered complete and can simulate arbitrary programs. If we view neural networks as a optimization over functions, we can consider recurrent neural network as a optimization over programs. Recurrent neural networks are well suited for modeling functions for which the input or output is composed of vectors that involve a time dependency between the values, and recurrent neural network model the time aspect of data by creating cycles in the network. So how the time is managed in recurrent neural network is by using the time aspects, or by creating the cycles in the network. So this is all about the recurrent neural network. So we have seen the deep neural network concept here, in which there are basically four types of deep neural networks that we have seen in brief. Then what are some basic building blocks of deep neural networks, that also we have seen in brief, and how they have formed and how they have calculated, how they have generated the values, and how the algorithms are worked on the concept of deep neural network. What are some applications of it where they have used? So all these concepts we have covered in this lecture. Thank you.